Hello and welcome to the Podawakens. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, talking the Acolyte, Ron. How are you today, Ron?
I'm doing great, brother. We wrapped up in a big way last night. Excited to break it all down with you here today.
And we have, of course, with us, she's never been on this show, but she was on our DC and Marvel podcast talking about women in comics. We got Whitney. How are you today, Whitney?
I'm good. How are you guys? Holy bananas, that episode was wild. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the SHIT word on your podcast,
Yeah,
but
it's
holy
fine.
wow, that episode was nuts. I am freaking out still.
Hell
yeah. Yeah, you can drop that word. That's fine.
Ron
has dropped worse.
Way worse. I think it's like as long as you do it after the first 20 seconds or something like that, I think you're good.
Then you're okay.
Yeah, there's like a weird thing there. I don't really
know. We are, of course, talking about the Acolyte season finale called The Acolyte, which was the 8th episode. It premiered July 16th, 2024 on Disney+. It was directed by Hanelle M. Culpepper and written by Jason Micallef. And the Disney Plus synopsis, Confrontation and Revelation await. So let's just go in order here with Ron. Give me your immediate thoughts when that episode credits hit.
Yeah, I found myself being way more satisfied than I expected. I didn't expect to leave totally miserable or anything, but just, last week when we were talking, we had a bit of trepidation about if they would be able to land this ship in sort of a satisfying way, just because there was so much they still had to explain and get across to us in a way that didn't feel rushed or anticlimactic. And I thought they did a really good job of it in this episode. We got the explanation of how May survived, which didn't need its whole episode, but it was a plot hole that needed to be plugged, and they plugged it. We found out about the details behind May and Osha's birth and the sort of 2R1 of it all. We got Osha's final turn to the dark side, but it didn't feel, like I said, rushed or anticlimactic or anything like that. They included a lot in this episode by way of that last interaction in their room that May and Osha had, and then Osha hearing from Soul's lips himself about, confessing to what he did. And it made her final, tip over to the dark side feel a lot more believable. And the same thing with May. It wasn't just, well, she's on the light side now because yin yang. She never really wavered from her sort of goal of just wanting to see Soul face justice one way or the other. It wasn't just, well, I'm on the good side now because my sister's on the bad side. Quite the opposite, actually. That conversation between May and Osha is really what basically tipped Osha over to the dark side and sort of fulfilling her destiny, so to speak. So yeah, it was really good. They included some really juicy stuff that they could build a season 2 off of. And I got really no complaints.
All right, Whitney, we have not had you on this show, so I'm not sure how you've been digging the Acolyte so far, but if you want to maybe...
I love it, man. I love this show. I am the epitome of what the kids on the streets are calling a Disney shill these days. Because I just really like the show. I, of course, like any normal person, I had some issues with some parts of episodes. There were some plot holes. There were some big old questions I had. But overall, I have loved this mystery. I have loved the how done it of it all. I over on the Palaxy, I've been calling it Columbo in space. This episode did not disappoint. We even had a moment where they were like, we're doing a murder investigation. And I was like, yeah, you are, baby, Columbo.
We didn't get the one more thing, though.
Yeah, we didn't get in one more thing. Although one could argue that straight up being like, guess what? The Jedi are a fucking cult, and we all know it. I don't know. That was a pretty good and one more thing, in my opinion. It didn't come about in the traditional trench coat, cigarette smoking, Columbo kind of way, but by God, it came about. I couldn't believe that we actually got a guy being like, I'm going to read the Jedi for filth right now. Yeah. That was one of my favorite favorite moments of the episode.
Yeah, he was. I remember the news of him getting cast because he was also Supergirl and stuff like that. But
everyone thought he was going to be Plagueis.
Everybody,
well,
at least everybody thought he would have a bigger role than he did, but he didn't. He did not. Just the one episode at the end there.
But yeah, no, there was a lot of really cool stuff to go off of in this episode. So part of me wonders, and I kind of threw this out there on social media today to kind of gauge some feedback, and it seems like for the most part people kind of agreed. Do you think this show may have been served a little better had it released all at once as opposed to dropping weekly? Because it seems like there was so much up and down in terms of how people, love this episode, wasn't so big on this one. This one's great. It felt like a bit of a roller coaster, and not in the sense of like the story being like, whoa, what's happening next? But the sort of reactions to it felt a little skewed, I guess. So I'm just kind of wondering, do you think that it's a thing where if it was released all at once and people got the chance to consume it all together and just see it for what it was, as opposed to, hanging on every single thing of every week and wondering what's going to be what, do you think that would have helped maybe? Or do you think that would have kind of hindered the mystery aspect of it all?
I think that it would have fucked with the mystery, man. And like, that's the thing that I loved the most about it. And what I love about weekly episodically released shows in general, when it's not the godforsaken Stranger Things binge model that we've all become cursed with forever now. I really like it when episodes are week to week, because I think that like the best, most important aspect of shows like these is getting to talk about it with your friends. It is getting to obsess over every single detail and break down every single scene and second and question that you have and funny moment and, dumb joke that you're making about it. That's what's fun about it to me. It's fun wondering what's going to happen next week. It's fun being wrong. It's fun being right. When you fucking call something in an Acolyte episode, damn, hell yeah, it's great. You got a call. Tommy got one. I got one. I was like, oh, it's going to be Soul's killing the mom. And he did. We all knew that one. But I felt so good when it actually happened. And you don't get that when you're just, watching them bang, bang, bang one after another. You don't get that like deep satisfaction of, oh shit, I was right, because it's something you just thought of 30 minutes ago. It's not something that you've been wondering about all week and prophesizing about and talking to your friends. And I don't know, I like that aspect of it. I love the community aspect of like Marvel and Star Wars shows, especially because it feels like everybody in the world is all watching them at the same time. And I love the camaraderie of like, it drops at midnight or whatever time, and you go on Twitter immediately afterwards and everybody's saying something, or you wake up and the next morning and your whole Twitter feed is just pure wall-to-wall Oshamir content. You can't escape his abs. You can't escape them at all. Like, I love that. I love the community participation aspect of it. And when something just drops all at once, people can't watch it till the weekend, or people can't watch it till their next work break, or they say something like, shit, that's 8 episodes. I don't want to watch 8 episodes. And then they put it off. And then not everybody, you don't get the same like camaraderie and community aspect of it. And so I personally really liked the weekly release model. I do, however, think that if they had dropped the first, I can't remember if we were saying it was 3 or 4 on Palaxy. Please forgive me if I'm misquoting myself. But either, I can't remember if we said I think it was just drop the first 3. Drop the first 3 as a package and then the rest weekly. Because I do think that it took an extra episode for a lot of people to get into it. I think that a lot of people were salty after just watching like the first couple, and I think that having a little bit more context in there might have made people feel a little bit warmer in the beginning and at the start. But yeah, I don't want to Stranger Things this, because the problem with Stranger Things is that I'll watch all of it the night it comes out. And then my friends are like, Whitney, we have real jobs.
Yeah.
We can't do that.
And you just gotta
We're gonna
Yeah.
we'll talk to you about it in June of next year when we finally get around to it. I want to talk about it now, dang it. So that's why I like that model. But how do you guys feel?
Yeah, Jord, we kind of got into a little side tangent on. I proposed the question if you think sort of that one time, drop all at once model would have helped or hindered the sort of like public reception of the show. But I think I kind of find myself siding with Whitney for the most part in terms of that week to week, hanging on every little aspect, every last, what is this? Oh, what does that light in the corner mean? You know what I mean? Like that stuff.
It's just fun.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, especially, people like us who do this, as a job / hobby / whatever.
/ hyperfixation that we cannot control.
Yeah. Yeah, but it, that it's what makes it fun. So while I do think that there's at least a conversation to be had about, if the more, I guess, widespread reception of the show, minus the people who aren't going to give it a chance to begin with, might have been a little better. I think ultimately for at least the real diehards who enjoyed it and who were looking forward to it every week, I think there would have been a lot missing there. Jordan, what do you think?
No, I agree. I think that I voted in your poll that you put on there as no, I don't want this all at once. I don't like that. Certain shows it's fine for that have already set that precedent, I think. But when it comes to like Star Wars in particular, or like the Marvel shows, I like to be able to discuss it. One, it gives us an opportunity to do this podcast, right? Instead of, and like Whitney was saying, when you have those conversations with friends, it's like, have you watched this? Oh yeah, I've only watched the first 5 minutes though, so you can't talk anymore about it. And you're like, all right, well, I watched the whole thing in 2 hours. Yeah, on 3 times speed or whatever. So yeah, for some people, it becomes like a hindrance in that. I don't think it would have helped this show anyway, honestly. I think I would have liked it less all at once, honestly.
Oh.
I know I didn't get a chance to really say my initial thoughts on the finale, but I was all right with the finale. I think overall I think I really enjoyed the show. The first 5 episodes are my favorite of them. The last 3 kind of lost me a little bit more. And this finale, I don't think really stuck the landing that I was looking for with it. All
right, Star Wars theory. Wow.
There were a few things that I was like, I didn't care for this.
Don't tell me you were upset that they didn't make the stranger shirtless again too. I knew it. I knew it. You're just like me for real.
Right at the top of it.
I was really upset they didn't scan down the other day.
Yeah, that's also what I've been saying. Show me full frontal nudity, Star Wars. I swear, I just want it.
At least give us the top of the V. Give us something.
Yeah, give us just the V would be just chef's kiss.
The main thing that I think about now at the end of the show, like the first 5 episodes, I was thinking the whole time, like, all right, like I love the mystery. I love what it's doing. I love what it's setting up. I was kind of on Osha's side. I was on, all of that. At the end of the show, though, I really wonder, who were we supposed to be rooting for? Is my big question. Because Vernestra, a character I love from the books, doesn't really act like herself from the books, and she ends up really like burying this conspiracy. And I get it that the Jedi need that to, survive, I guess, with the senator and stuff, but she knows it's her former apprentice who's doing this. So she kind of lets Soul take the fall for her own mistakes, which I'm not really big on for Vernestra. And then Osha and May, I thought at the end, I was like, it was playing that like hopeful music when they're reunited and they're talking to Keimer and stuff. And I'm like, are we supposed to like this? Are we supposed to like that she just force chokes Soul and is running away? Like, that's where, because I'm still Soul Patrol. All right, I still.
Oh, we got
Soul.
a current member of the Soul Patrol. Ron and I denounced the Soul Patrol last week on Palaxy.
I'm on Soul Patrol still.
Oof, bona fide diehard here. Let's go.
Everything he did, he thought he was doing for the correct reason. And while he did not great stuff, and I think he would have went with May and Osha to go in front of the council, ultimately, I think the turn for Osha was still too quick for me.
Okay.
It really was only this episode and like hinted at in episode 6, right? Like, because we had that flashback in 7, if that could have been one episode with 3 and 7, and maybe you have an extra episode where you can kind of see her learning more from Chimere and getting more information, or maybe this episode is a little longer and we get to have a couple meetings with her and Soul, with her knowing the truth. And maybe it just seems like it was really too quick for me on her force choking Soul, and then, like I said, like happy music playing when she's talking with May, and May's giving up her memories and stuff. And I was like, not sure. So like the first half of this episode, I was really like, oh, this is going well. And then like the second half, I was like, oh, this is not how I saw this going. And then, like the Plagueis stuff, I think it's cool he showed up. I don't think he had to show up, right? I like, if it is only one season, right? And that's kind of thing. It's like, we didn't need that part. And the Yoda scene at the end really felt like the most Marvel scene I've seen in Star Wars.
Oh yeah, that was the most fucking Marvel post-credits scene ever. That was the most. It was so ridiculous.
And I was excited at first because like, oh, she's gonna have a scene with Yoda, because like Star Wars has never done this where they just show a silhouette of a character like this and then like cut the credits for a finale of a one-season show supposedly. So I was like, okay, that was kind of a post-credit scene before the credits.
Yeah.
So I thought that was just a little strange. I did call it, though. I did say in the build-up that Yoda would make an appearance in this show.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think the Yoda one was a little gratuitous. I really liked the Plagueis one though, because it showed in a quick way that didn't really have to, as we lose Jordan again here. It showed us in a really quick way without seeming too fan servicey, that this whole Sith plot goes a lot deeper than just,
it
here's
goes all the way to the top. Yes.
Yeah. It's not just a
I was
rogue
so stoked
Chimere.
that Plagueis was there. I was like, oh fuck yeah, you weird little chicken-handed freaky fuck hiding in your cave watching Chimere get naked. I know what you're doing in that cave, man. I love you. I was so excited when he showed up. I was like, fuck yes.
The fact that nobody has supercut that scene of him looking out over Chimere in the water yet is baffling.
Oh, the fact that I have not yet seen that. I mean, I'm sure that by the time this episode airs, we'll have like 19 supercuts of it. But God, the fact that it hasn't happened yet is just the worst part of my life right now.
True. But yeah, no, I thought that was a really cool way to, again, just show that this thing is a lot deeper and goes a lot further than just one rogue former Jedi Padawan, who we know now is a former Jedi Padawan of Vernestra. It's not just a one-man job. This is something that there's been a lot of intricate planning going into, obviously. And I thought it was a nice little way to show that, and a nice little. I know the sort of buzzword out there today is jingling keys. That's what everyone's using to describe the scene. Was it maybe a little bit? Fine. That's what every fan service moment is at its core. It's a matter of whether or not you can take that moment and make it mean something, to the story and make it fit. And I thought this did. So it kind of worked for me.
Hell yeah. I really did laugh though. Oh yeah, we were just talking Plagueis, but I was also going to say I straight up just like cackled though as soon as it was Yoda, because I was just like, oh no fucking way, why is he here? Okay, like I get it makes sense, but I also just like, that was the last thing I expected in that moment, because like Jordan was saying, I didn't expect them to pull like a Marvel on me like that, so I was not prepared. I lost brain cells, I gained hope. It was amazing.
Yeah, I think that one was far more just your sort of standard fan service than the Plagueis one was.
Yeah, no, that was just straight up like fan service bullshit. But I think that the Plagueis one had meaning, and I think that it was something that a lot of us had like really, really, really wanted to happen this whole time. So yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was sweet.
Yeah, my only thing about Plagueis, and I'm going to try to talk fast in case if he starts crying again. The one thing about Plagueis was what Leslie Headland says in this interview here is, even though Osha and the stranger are standing there sort of looking out at the sunset, ready to conquer the world, the tragedy is we know they don't. We know there can only be two. We know Plagueis is there. We know that these two are doomed in some way. So to me, it's bittersweet tragedy, this foreboding ending. But that's because I know the Sith lineage and all these other things, whereas I think a different subset of the audience can be like, they're married. And I get that, but also it's like, again, when it comes back to me for like, who am I rooting for in this? It's like, even if I'm rooting for Osha, they're doomed, right? Like, because Plagueis is there and Plagueis will take on Palpatine and Palpatine will become the Emperor. It's like, if we don't get a second season that can really explore this, I'm kind of left at the end thinking, like, okay, what, right? Like, it's kind of my main question at the end of with Osha. It's like, are we supposed to be happy that she is, become the Acolyte? And when we ultimately know that it doesn't lead to anything on that consequence, right? And if it's a multiple season show, if we're guaranteed to get more, which we're not, but if we are, then I think this is an interesting finale, because then it's like, okay, we can kind of dive into that. I think a lot of times people think these characters have to die if they haven't been seen in other media, and we just know that's not true. Like, I remember in Clone Wars, everyone being like, Ahsoka needs to die. She needs to die because Anakin doesn't have her in episode 3. And there's so many other cool ways you can take that. And if they hadn't done that, we wouldn't have Ahsoka the series. We wouldn't have her in Rebels. We wouldn't have like her in The Mandalorian, right? And like, she's a great character. So hopefully this isn't the end of what we see. But originally she said this was supposed to be a 1-season story. This was supposed to be a full tale. And I'm not sure if I saw like a full arc in that regard.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that I know what your problem is here. And the problem is that you're not looking at this in a horny enough perspective. You need to get hornier about this, because instead of looking at it like, oh, this bummer ending, we just know that this is going to be sad later, you could think, yeah, but they're going to fuck first. And that's what matters. We got two hotties together and they gonna fuck at some point. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
But I would say, part of me wonders if they are like actually gonna do like a romantic thing, which again all hinges on a season 2 as well. But you could also approach it as like, is Chimere really just kind of all doing this to get Osha on their side, and then we know all of this unnatural life creating, and like that's how Plagueis was able to sustain himself for that long. So like you just kind of wonder if it's like a fake romantic ploy sort of thing, where they're actually just trying to use. We'd have to know how they would plan on like harnessing her power, or the way she was created, but basically using her as a vessel to expand Plagueis's life and keep him alive and feeling young and spry and all that good stuff, as opposed to if it's like a real heartfelt thing on Chimere's part, because Plagueis could be fooling them both and making Chimere think he's on this big important mission to find his own acolyte, when in reality he just wants Osha, and probably May as well, which would also be explored in the season 2, for his own gain and preservation.
And I do think that's something really interesting that they like revealed in this episode about Chimere and Osha's relationship, is that you can see the moment that it like turns for him when he realizes, oh fuck, she's a lot more powerful than I am. And I think that is something that if there is a season 2, I would really like to see that aspect of their relationship explored, because at this point he's been like, I mean, he thought that he was a super powerful fucking, he showed up and just murdered the shit out of like a billion Jedis all at once. It was insane. He just did a full massacre. And you think that this is like the most evil, most powerful guy, and then it's like, psych, nope, your little girlfriend is, buddy. That's a person who's way more powerful than you, and you should be fucking terrified of her. So I hope that there's a season 2, because that's the aspect. As much as I joke and am also very serious about wanting them to fuck, I want to see like that power dynamic played out in a master-student relationship in a way that isn't Qui-Gon and Anakin, because I think that the way that they're approaching it with having a potential teacher who is like aware that their pupil is that much more powerful than them, I think that the way that they've set up this storyline is going to be really interesting if they do that.
Yeah, we know that Plagueis, right? Like with the tale of Plagueis, creating life or wanting to create life, and then Chimere does hear Soul's revelation that they were born, right? Like that they are one person and that they're part of the Force or whatever. So if there was going to be a continuing arc with this, it's like, all right, maybe he's not only going to try to train her, but maybe it's also like, I can bring him back to my master and I can get some bonus points here because of her being like a case study.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think this was a very informative and humbling episode for Chimere overall. There's all that you mentioned. He kind of got his butt kicked by Soul at the end there too, which was a tremendous fight, by the way. Tremendous lightsaber duel.
Oh, dude, that fight was so cool.
Yeah, and of course, people are complaining about it and saying it looked cheap and all that stuff. Don't really understand that, but it was great. In my opinion,
he like broke off his lightsaber, and then his lightsaber got busted, and then another lightsaber got the kyber crystal blood drained out. It was cool. How is not cool? I think it's very cool.
Yeah. This is the first time that we have seen a kyber crystal get bled on screen, not counting video game stuff. And it looked really cool.
And it looked like one of those rocket pops.
Yeah.
It looked exactly like a rocket pop. I was like, oh, let me suck on that thing. That looks great for this summer.
Pause.
What a summer treat. Bleed a kyber crystal, cool down a little. I think it's perfect.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I it's when it first happened, I was like, oh, what's going on here? But then I was like, oh, you know what? That's actually a kind of unique way to do it. Because usually, like, in the few times that it's been out there, or at least that I've seen, in like Jedi Survivor and stuff, it's just the whole saber turns at the same time as the crystal, and it's kind of like flicking a switch sort of thing. So
it's not like a popsicle.
No,
so but the popsicle is a new interpretation. Got it.
Yes, and I thought it was a creative way to do it because it showed that like the light side was still trying to push back, like with everything it had.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So it was a very cool sort of like visual way to show the struggle within her as through the kyber crystal. So I thought that was dope as hell.
It was sick.
Yeah, and then from there, he senses that Vernestra is there, and that was another kind of humbling thing for him. He had her right in his sights, when he's kind of up on that perch, but he doesn't strike. And I don't know if it's because, maybe he's got a little bit of a bruised ego at the moment. Maybe he's still processing all of this information that he just heard, about the twins' birth and Soul being dead and all this stuff. I don't know, but it just, all in all, I think it sent Chimere on a path where there's like a lot of different ways they could take his story in particular in season 2.
For sure. I want there to be a season 2 so bad.
I know. Hopefully. Imagine if they just drop it on us at Comic-Con next week.
Oh, sick. I would lose my fucking mind. If Manny Jacinto was that good of a liar, in addition to, oh man, I wish that I got to train for the lightsaber battles. And then if he was like, oh man, I wish that there was a season 2, fuck, that'd be cool.
I also think Chimere may not have attacked because if we're right that the scars are from Vernestra's whip saber, he might have gotten his ass kicked last time. And he may still be like, not now, right?
Yeah.
The scars are physical as well as, mental.
Emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
As
for sure.
Papa Roach once said, the scars remind us that the past is real.
They do indeed. we much prefer Papa Roach to POD on this show for reasons that I mentioned to you on the Palaxy. Get us out from underneath them on the algorithm, god damn it. I love some early 2000s rock, don't get me wrong, but god damn, give us some room to grow, guys. What the
That's
fuck?
my bad for naming the podcast. I apologize with that. But
It's all good. So yeah, we covered the Kyber crystal of it all and the Chimera and Vernestra. So in the final moment with Sol and Osha when she's force choking him, did you guys pick up what he said? Did he say like it's okay or something like that? I know he whispered.
I thought that's what he said.
It was something like that, yeah, and that was very interesting to me because it felt like, and this could be me just diving like way too deep in and like creating a whole narrative that's not there, but that's why we do this kind of stuff. To me, it was that moment where he finally realized that he actually did help Osha reach her destiny and what she was supposed to do. It just was not at all what he thought it was.
Not his plan, but she got there anyways.
Yeah, and just like in that moment, I just picture all these thoughts going through his head of like, we were responsible for all of this. Everything that led her up to this point is largely our fault, and almost not really blaming her for making the choice that she makes in that moment because everything on the show had been so gray in terms of, not to trigger people with the gray Jedi thing, but in terms of just both sides like doing these kind of awful things. And it just, I don't know. I think in that final moment, he wasn't so like upset, I guess, as much as he just maybe kind of understood at that point. Like it just, this is what you have to do to fulfill your destiny. I may not like it, but this is clearly your destiny at this point, and I played a large part in it. So, use me to continue it, sort of thing. Do you think I'm reading into that a little too much, or
maybe too much with the destiny part? I would say I think it's almost like at that point he knows he had failed her, and this is what she needed to do, and not for her destiny, but just for him to finally feel the release of his sorrow for what the part he took part in 16 years ago. So maybe he was just finally coming to terms with dying, is kind of my thought on that.
Yeah, I kind of thought like a little mix of the two, which was I kind of felt like that was him finally like accepting his own humanity in a way and realizing for once like I think that he held on to his like Jedi-hood till the last possible second where he was like, no, it was for the greater good. It was for the greater good. It was for the greater good. And then when Osha starts killing him, he's like, ah, shit, this is kind of exactly what I did to her mom. I got scared. I went stabbity without fucking thinking because it was a human reaction that I had. And I think that he finally like realized like, no, this is like pretty much what I did to their mom. I got scared. I got freaked out. Right now, she is not afraid of me because I've been, it's just she's so angry because I've been lying to her this whole entire time. And she's letting her anger control her in the same way that I once let my fear control me. And I think that was like his last moment of actually showing his understanding that, yeah, man, Jedis still have feelings. Jedi still have emotions. Unfortunately, as much as they try to be like, you must hide your emotions, Anakin. You must control the ways of the Force. Like, shut the fuck up. Everybody has feelings. And I think that was just Sol finally being like, you know what? Nope, I get it.
That is a great point. I hadn't even thought of that, about very much kind of mirroring what he did with Osha and May's mom. That's a really good point.
And he's a better man than I, because I think if somebody was choking me, I wouldn't be like, it's okay.
Yeah, I'd probably be like, fuck you,
I'd be a little upset. I'd be a little upset.
Well, circumstances depending, of course. Sometimes a little choking's okay, but it just depends on the extent.
It really depends on who's doing it, what the circumstances are.
Chimera? All right, we're in.
Chimera?
Right?
Those forearms? Daddy, yes.
It's all about the extent and the consent, baby. As long as those are all on the same page, we are good to
Extent
go.
and consent. Let's go.
Okay, Jordan, is there anything else you really wanted to kind of touch on?
Yeah, I'm trying to go through my notes here with it here. So I think what I would have liked to see too, and this is more of, this will be a complaint on the writing a bit, with when it comes to, this happens in a lot of shows.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes time to explain yourself, they repeat the same stuff over and over again. Like Soul being like, I'm sorry, this is blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, just tell her mom was turning into the smoke monster from Lost, and you decided you were going to kill her because you thought she was trying to kill May. Like, explain it a little better than just being like, yeah, I straight up killed your mom. Now, listen, this was for the greater good. No, explain yourself a little bit more. But this happens in a lot of TV shows.
No, that always makes me mad too.
Yeah.
I 200% agree with you. It's like, give a little bit of context here, man. Just a little. I think it would help. I don't know. Maybe you'd still be alive.
Happens in all those TV shows where it's like, why were you with Janet? I told you not to see her anymore. And it's like, instead of just saying, look, I ran into her at the mall, right? They're like, listen, it's not what you think. While I love Janet in the past, this is not. It's like, no, just get to the point and say what you're trying to say.
You saw her at a hot topic and get over it. Like,
you don't understand. I had to. Like, all right, why? And then like an alarm goes off, and it's like, oh, well, guess we can't address it any further now. They did a lot of that in this show too, which I was
with
not a
Soul.
fan of, admittedly.
Yeah,
it was anytime Soul had to explain something.
Yeah.
And that is kind of what we complained about last week, where it's like, did the mystery of episode 7 live up to the part of them constantly cutting it off? I don't personally think so. And I don't think we got enough of this is another complaint I have here, is I don't think we got enough of an explanation on what Soul means by they're the same person.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, he says that. And he's, again, cut off right before he can say it the first time. He does say it the second time. But we don't get an explanation on what that means. Like, can they fuse together again? Like, what, like, is it just one is the dark side, one is the light side, but then they both ended up on the dark? Like, it's like,
what if they can fuse like the crystal gems from Steven Universe and become a giant woman?
I was thinking that, or like DBZ with the fusion dance. One of
those.
Yeah. So it's just like, when that revelation came up, and I'm like, oh yeah, they're not twins, they're one person. And then it's like, well, we don't really tell you what that means. Like, the show doesn't really tell you what it means. The characters just kind of take it in stride of like, oh, we're one. Right. And obviously, like, the song that they've been singing to each other actually tells you that straight up. So I guess it's not that big of a reveal, but they treat it like a reveal.
Who made up the song though? That's my biggest question after that. She was like,
I thought you made
how'd
it.
you make up that song? I thought you made up the song. Okay, who the fuck made up the song? Tell me.
Mother Anastasia.
It cuts back to Plagueis in the cave.
It cuts back to Plagueis and his little freaky hand, and he's just like playing a little ukulele, and it's the song.
Oh, you know what would have been the biggest twist, and this would have been funny. It's like Vernestra opens up the door, it's Yoda there, and then you just hear him start saying, "Born as 2, always 1." Right? And it's just like, whoa, he did it, right?
Yeah, that would have actually made a lot more sense, and I would have liked it better.
All part of the plan, this was.
Yeah. Master Soul took the fall.
God damn it. All right. So I guess we've done a pretty decent job of covering the bases in terms of the episode. Is there anything in particular that you guys are looking to explore in season 2? Like, is there one thing in particular above them all that you would like to see, whether it's something that was already set up or something totally out of your own mind? Because there's also this whole May side with Vernestra that we haven't even really gotten much into. That there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there too, with the memory wipe and
kind of bizarre too. Like, her only memory is when she's 8 years old now. It's like, well, you didn't have to wipe that much.
Yeah, dude. Also, like, does that mean that like she only, like, how much did he wipe? Like, because like, does that mean that she has like the spelling of sorry. Let me try that again. Does that mean that she only has like the spelling of an 8th grader? Does that
Oh,
mean that or an
geez.
8th grader, an 8-year-old? Does that mean that she can only do like 2nd grade math from here on out?
Yeah,
Like, does she
yeah.
not know how to like have a job anymore? Like, is she gonna be okay? Did they make her a child? Like, what happened?
No, I don't know. Yeah, and then Vernestra is talking about like using her to find Chimere and Osha and all that stuff, and like, so that's going to basically require a total reteaching of how to use and harness the Force, right? Because she has really
Yeah.
not much
If
clue.
she got her memory wiped, then she doesn't know how to use the Force.
Yeah, so that in itself is going to be a whole like another thing that they have to cross, another bridge that they have to cross. I mean, outside of the obvious Plagueis stuff, that's probably what I would be most interested to see in a season 2, because Vernestra's got a shitload of redemption that she now needs to accomplish in order to kind of get her character back in the good graces of the audience, so to speak. So
Yeah.
I'm just very curious to see where they would go with that in a potential season 2. And I really hope it wouldn't just be as direct as just, well, now that she's a clean slate, we're just going to make her a Jedi again. I would like to see, because they're obviously both very strong, I would like to see some of those memories maybe start to creep back in. Like somehow they're not lost, they're just blocked to her. And like as she gets more powerful in the Force and kind of relearns how to use it, the memories start coming back to her. Like that would be a really cool thing, I think.
Okay, seriously, what if because they made her an 8-year-old again, now they're like, well, she's technically not too old to be a Padawan, and they just put her in with the rest of the 6-year-olds in Jedi training camp? Holy shit, that'd be amazing.
See that room where like
see.
we see that room where Soul was training all the younglings, and you
And
just
then
have
there's just,
like
one like 32
grown up
year old
Amanda
woman in there.
Stenberg.
Like Billy Madison fucking sitting
Yes,
there.
it's the Billy Madisonification of the Star Wars universe.
Okay, now I need to see that. Forget everything else.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's season 2 right there.
But what
for
about you guys?
season 2 for me?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I honestly don't think we're gonna get one, right? Like I know the numbers have been decent, but this show was kind of what greenlit during that Chapek era of let's make as many things as we can. And we're kind of not seeing that anymore, right? Like a lot of the shows like Mando, we don't know if there's going to be an actual season 4 right now. They're doing the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So like Andor's getting a season 2 that was already in the works. Ahsoka got a season 2, right? But it's like, will this, because it also had all of the review bombing and stuff, I don't think Disney would really let that bother them in that case, but they could be like, look, this wasn't worth the constant back and forth on social media. We're just going to cut our losses here, especially with how expensive the show was. But if there was a season 2, I wouldn't really want to see May play a big part. She wasn't my favorite character. And then I do worry if, Ron, if you do the whole like, oh, she's actually getting some of her memories back, then you're kind of doing what they did on this show already, right? Like, let's say she's on the Jedi side, and then she runs into Osha, and Osha's like, oh, I got to tell you, these Jedi are not who you think they are. And it's like the same exact setup in that regard. I'd be like, I don't need that, right? Like, I would like to focus on Osha, Chimere, Plagueis, like, show me more of the dark side stuff, and then I guess maybe show me Vernestra stuff. I don't know. She does have to get redeemed, because I'll tell you, not a big Vernestra fan after 100 years after the High Republic, where I'm like, wait a minute, this was a great character that now is like whispering in Soul's ear, sorry, buddy, but you're going down.
Yeah.
And she goes to the senator and she's like, so this guy killed all of his former accomplices. I'm like, oh my God, they really sold him down the river here.
What do you bet, though, that there's like a little like small group of like a loud minority of conspiracy theorists who are like furiously tweeting on Coruscant, Soul didn't kill himself. This is a fucking setup.
Hashtag Soul Patrol.
The Jedi deep state.
Jedi deep state. Check him out.
Oh no,
this guy's right. We need a full investigation of the
We
Jedi.
need a full investigation. Yes.
Let's not do that because they're actually right in this case, and it would
They are
set
super right in this case. Holy shit.
But that's as far as it goes, and we don't want them to think that they're.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
boy.
guess that would have to be explored too, right? Like that is a very interesting idea that
Mhm.
this guy is pushing for those type of reforms when I don't think they ever happen, right?
Mhm.
Like
No, yeah,
maybe they do, and maybe that's why the Jedi get a little closer to the Senate
Mhm.
in the prequels.
Yeah.
Why they're working more hand in hand with them is maybe they got like that wrist slap, slap on the
Mhm.
wrist where they're like, oh, we do have to pull you in a little bit more and have a little bit of a watchful eye over you. But we know that they constantly say in the prequels that they don't actually have to deal with Chancellor Palpatine. Like they'll say like, what's he gonna do? Like we run ourselves. So it seems like that doesn't actually happen, but it's funny that comes up 100 years before we see Palpatine pulling all the strings and getting rid of them. So I don't know. That'd have to be addressed in season 2 as well, I think.
Yeah, and they've got 100 years to play with that. There's really nothing in canon for, so they could
So
do
100 seasons.
Yeah, let's do
100
it.
seasons. Yeah.
And a movie.
And a movie.
Just 180-year-old Manny Jacinto taking his shirt off, just man boobs
I'll
everywhere.
still be into it. I will still be into it. I still want to fuck Harrison Ford, and he's like 84 or whatever. Yeah, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up on old Manny Jacinto. That'd be wrong of me.
All right. Anything else, folks?
No, I do want to say Ron and I are supposed to the next week or so kind of give our what do we call it? The postmortem on the Acolyte, where we kind of look at all 8 episodes as a whole and just say like, all right, where do we go from here? We had some time after the finale, maybe we rewatched it, all that kind of stuff. So we'll talk about that as our wrap up to the Acolyte coverage. But that's all I wanted to plug before we let Whitney plug all of her fabulous stuff.
Forward to it. Oh man, sounds like it's gonna be a cool little video. Can't wait to see it. You can. MT will be there. Yes, oh, I fucking love that guy. He's the tits. Hell yeah, have fun with him. He's great. You can find MT and Tommy Bechtold and myself, and Ron was in our last episode last week, so go ahead and watch that over at Guardians of the Palaxy. It's on YouTube. It's nice. It's a really nice place. And then you can also follow me at Whitney Puppy everywhere.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys. Thank you for putting up with me just talking about how much I want to see Chimere fuck for like 45 minutes. I really appreciate both of you.
You're only echoing our sentiments, sister. So you're
letting us speak our truth. Yeah.
Between the 3 of us and Plagueis. Yeah.
That was not the hand motion that I meant to make there. Let's wrap up the show, baby.
All right. Well, if you want to follow us at podawakens on all of our social media, if you want to send us long form content, you must contact us at podawakens@gmail.com, as our friend Theo Bibble likes to say. Thank you all for watching and listening. Catch us next time when we talk about the postmortem of the Acolyte. And stay tuned for any sort of big Star Wars news that happens in the meantime. But thank you once again. Catch you next time.